thank you to the farmers who grew the food, the students who helped, the chefs who cooked, the wonderful company. And the friends who are probably playing a game, or it's weekend, party time. We call food anna. And there's a phrase that is used all the time in India, Annam Brahman. Food is the creator. And when you think of the fact that it's the food going from the soil to us and back, and that's the challenge we have to really do. We thought that chemical fertilizers would fertilize the soil. We've got to close the fertility loop between humans and the soil that feeds us. A very big challenge for cities. I'm trying to do it for the Ganga because so much sewage is going into the Ganga. And we're working on trying to declare the two sides of the Ganga as organic zones. Large piece of work. But with good work, you can't ever say it's too big. Because when it comes to doing the right thing, you have to do it. That's just the imperative. I noticed one of our guests today, her name is Annapurna, which is the goddess of food. There's a lot of confusion about goddesses in India. I love them because of their multiple hands, because they symbolize diversity. Lalita Sahasranam, the one who plays and the one who has 1,000 names. That's the creativity of the world. And then different aspects get different names. Lakshmi becomes the goddess of wealth. And in India, the goddess of wealth includes the cow dung that becomes the compost. We have a day after Diwali where we literally worship the cow dung. It's called Govardhan Puja. And because for me so much learning comes from the seed and the soil, every time I see cow dung, I just say thank you. And once in South Africa, it was 10 years after the Earth Summit, all of the treaties of Rio were being undone and were being turned into market instruments. And so all the environmentalists who had worked for those treaties, we got together from across the world and had a press conference to say we're not going to be part of this. We are here to protect the earth. We're not here to privatize the water. We are not here to commodify the atmosphere and do emissions trading. And just towards the end of the press conference, a hand came through with cow dung. And I said, oh, an organic farmer has brought me cow dung. And then the face comes behind the hand. And I recognize him as a PR person of Monsanto from India. And he says, no, it's the bullshit award for making the world starve with organic. I said, you can call it bullshit. It'll still compost well. It still counts. And then I had a composting ceremony outside a big conference hall. And then a Swedish filmmaker who's following me everywhere actually has made a film called Bullshit about years of my conversations with our neighbor at the other end of the state. What I've learned in these, four decades really of working for the earth and 3 decades of working for seed is that diversity is our first richness. The mindsets that we have been made popular have made diversity look like a problem, both in nature, in the farm, and so you have all the corn and soya. But that corn and soya wouldn't be growing if there wasn't a whole structure to make it grow. If there wasn't the subsidies, there wasn't the insurance, there wasn't everything else that makes it the only thing the farmer can do. Because wherever people choose through their freedom, they grow diversity. I remember a few years ago, it was 2008, and it was the year of the Wall Street collapse. And after the subprime crisis, a lot of the investment firms moved immediately to land and food as the places for profit. And as they invested in food, as they always say, 25% is the return to every level of investment. So if you have 3 investors, you've already shot the price 75%. And so the price of food went up in India, totally unconnected, except that the financial world is connected. And we are eaters of dal. Our protein comes from the dal, from the pulses, the leguminous families. And this is another little story. When I started to save seeds, I would go and look for the seeds of Geheth, we call it Geheth. And then I'd come back and look at the literature to find out the English name. I would get the local name. I had the scientific name. The English name was horse gram. Then the chana, we call it the chana, name is chickpea. The avre is cowpea. I said, what on earth's going on? Why is everything an animal feed? I think it's because the British didn't know what they could do with all this. They fed it to the animals and named forever very important food sources as animal feed, and that got neglected. The Green Revolution destroyed it. So dals were becoming scarce, but the price of dal went up to 150 rupees a kilo. And suddenly we had this thing called dal in the subsidized food shops. Couldn't figure out. Turns out it was soya powder ground up, shaped into a dal, colored yellow. Fake dal. And I think they said, Mr. Steve Jobs did so well with the the iPad, the iPhone, and they just put dal and everyone's going to jump on it because it's about technology. And that, I think, is the fascinating moment we are in, that every destruction is being justified in the name of technological progress when we are aware that food is about the state of our pollinators, and we have guests who look after the pollinators. It is about the state of our soils, it's the state of our communities, it's the hope for our future. It's the state of the atmosphere. 40% greenhouse gases are coming from an industrial model of farming. That's why I wrote my book, Soil Not Oil, because agriculture was a missing piece in the discussion on climate change. And the same agriculture that contributes to climate change is then vulnerable to it. It's the kind of agriculture that absolutely fails with extended drought, a heat wave, too much cold. You just can't deal with the flexibility. Diversity is, again, what we need to deal with the onslaught of climate change. But not only does it help us adapt, it actually helps us mitigate. We could get rid of 40% emissions. All of the world's negotiations are about 5% reduction. And here we have systems of growing good food locally that are the biggest contribution we could make to climate havoc. But it's not just about the climate either. It is about our health. We've just started to wake up to the fact that bad food is the single biggest contributor to bad health. And good food is the biggest contributor to good health. And that's why in India, the philosophy and science of Ayurveda, and it is a science, Ayur means life. The Veda is knowledge, the knowledge of living, knowledge of life. So it's both a system of medicine, system eating. You talk to the grandmothers, everything they did was according to Ayurveda. And what I love is one simple principle. Because everyone's measuring how much nutrients, how much this, how much that. Ayurveda says, make sure your meal has 5 tastes. And when you have the 5 tastes, you're going to have a balanced diet. But what I'm really excited about at this point, where in a way the future is being closed for our future generations. You can do an MBA if you're privileged and maybe join a firm. Otherwise, there's less and less options for the future. And I really feel the earth is inviting us to say the governments might be having austerity programs, giant corporations might be increasing their profitability by laying 4,000 off here, 5,000 off there, which is normally the way it happens. But the earth is boundless in her giving. And we have the opportunity to make creative links between creative work and the cultivation of good food, creative work and the distribution of good food, creative work and healing through good food, creative work and education, a different kind of education, like the education that we promote at the Earth University at the Navdanya farm, where at any point we have people from around the world, courses, all 200 farmers come at a time, learn, and go back. Teaching to learn from the earth, a different kind of learning, but a learning we need very, very deeply. We've been given an opportunity like no other generation has been given. Every other generation has been given the opportunity of changing specific things in specific line, and the women fought for the vote, and you had the movement against slavery, and we had our freedom movement. It's the first time people can respond at a planetary scale through the local. That every little urban garden we create, we are in fact taking care of the planet as a whole. We are taking care of the earth community as a whole. We are taking care of humanity as a whole, because with every seed we plant and every organic field we create, we are creating another path and another imagination. And I want to thank you all because you're doing it. And I want to thank you that you allowed me to be part of this process. And I invite any of you who can come to be part of our process in India. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Shiva. Thank you all for coming. The bar is open, like you said, till 8:30. We would love to, for those of you who are new to us with Cultivate, we'd love to have you come into our organization, get involved, volunteer, figure out collaborations, figure out partnerships. Our organization is all about cultivating, creating, catalyzing changes in the city. And so if you are in a part of the city that needs food, if you're in a part of the city that needs to address growing food, changing the environment, we would love to help you with that process. So we encourage you to not only come to this event tonight, but to come into relationship with us and to become part of an increasingly powerful local food movement that is changing our city. So enjoy your dessert, enjoy the rest of your meal, and thank you very much.